What's going on, YouTube? It's Jeff Tuffner here on the Glorious Podcast with my Miami Dolphins, Atlanta Falcons, Week 6 full game review, and I cannot believe what I watched earlier today. It's looked like it was going to be a nightmare. As a matter of fact, it was a nightmare in that first half of the game. It looked like it's just an endless nightmare that would just be a trend through the entire season. And then something happened in that second half that just left me speechless. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I don't know how this happens. And you know what? In the back of my mind, I saw this coming. But I can't believe it actually ended up happening. Somehow, the Dolphins were able to pull off a win over the defending NFC champion, Atlanta Falcons. Upset. Upset of the year, possibly. I mean, there's been upsets. This has been a year of upsets so far. Week 6, we have seen a countless number of upsets around the league. But, I mean, I think this one, based on what everyone's seen out of the Dolphins so far this season, absolutely nothing on offense. Then for them to come out in that second half today and just put up 20 points, it was crazy. I mean, I thought, honestly, it was like going into halftime, you look at the scoreboard, and there it is once again. We've already seen this a number of times this season, a 0 in the score column for the Dolphins. But this week, that changed. Well, I mean, it was the same at half, but they came out, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what was said in the locker room. I don't know what went down, but whatever happened in the locker room, I don't know if Gay said something or something happened, but they came back out on that field in the second half. 20 unanswered points. Just a weird game. A weird game. The Atlanta's shutting out the Dolphins 17-0 at half. It looks like it's about to be a big blowout. It looks like what everybody expected it to be. And then all of a sudden, Atlanta can't score a point in the second half, and the Dolphins' offense all of a sudden starts putting up points. Jay Cutler, 2 touchdowns. A couple field goals to go along with it. Make that 20 points. The Dolphins' defense coming up clutch in the end of the game. Rashad Jones with that interception. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. Him intercepting that ball was just, like, it was mind-blowing, to be honest. I just thought it was surreal. It was surreal for us to even win this game here. It doesn't make any sense. Or maybe it does. I don't know. Hopefully this isn't a one-time thing and the Dolphins are going to go back to being them regular selves. Well, at least the team they've been so far this year next week again. I think next week's the true test. Even though this week we played the Atlanta Falcons on the road and we're going home to play the New York Jets next week, I think next week's the true test. Because if we could beat the Jets next week at home, then we're good. I'm not expecting us to blow, based on what I saw out of the Jets this year, I'm not expecting us to go home and blow the Jets out, 35-7 or something. You know what I mean? I'm expecting maybe actually a somewhat close game, but at the end of the day, the Dolphins winning the game. If they don't win next week against the Jets, and I said this before the game, before this game even happened today, I was saying the Dolphins are going to go out there, they're probably going to somehow beat the Falcons, but then they're going to go home and lose to the Jets next week. That's exactly what's going to happen. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully the Dolphins are able to start putting some wins together here. I mean, they're on the 2-game winning streak. They beat the Titans last week, and they beat the Falcons this week. Go back home, beat the Jets, and then you got to play 3 straight primetime games, which all 3 different days. You got a Thursday game, a Sunday game, and then a Monday game. So that's going to be hectic. But I don't know. I really don't know what to say describing today's game. I mean, it was just weird. It's just how it's completely two different halves of the first half and the second half. The first half was all Atlanta. The second half was all Miami. And the Miami Dolphins were able to somehow pull it off. Once again, the defense was even in the first half, it wasn't like, and then, yeah, there were 17 points up on the board for the Falcons, but the defense was okay. There were a few spots where, bad plays or whatever, bad penalties. Early, there was a bunch of this game. There was a lot of penalties, specifically the first half. A lot of penalties by the Falcons. I mean, not the Falcons, the Dolphins, that ended up costing them maybe points, field goal, touchdown, and then ended up leading to Atlanta getting points. I don't know in a few of them. I know there was at least three times, 2 actually, where it's just like pointless penalties. It's like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, it could have just been points, or it could have been a 3rd down, 4th down. Falcons end up punting it on both sides of the ball, both offense and defense. It wasn't just like a one-sided thing. But they were able to turn it around. They almost played practically perfect in that second half. The defense was just shut down defense, especially there toward the end. When they needed to come up clutch, they came up clutch. Specifically, that interception at the end of the game was huge in getting the win here. The offense wasn't bad. They actually got The first half, they were showing it was like baby steps toward like finally turning it around. It's like they were just teasing it there in the first half. You could just see some signs of the offense maybe finally getting something going. You know what I mean? Jay Cutler would actually make a nice pass or something, and then Jay Ajayi, we got a nice run. It was just like, man, it's like something starting to get together here with this offense. Something we have not seen all season this year. Even last week when we won, week 1 when we won, we have not seen any of it. Like what I saw today out of the offense, we hadn't seen all year. And it was against a very good Atlanta Falcons team who's good on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. On the road, too. You could add that to it. On the road. It wasn't even a home game. So, I mean, we saw it was signs of it in the first, and then they started to execute in the second half. I feel like that was the problem. I was saying that at halftime. I was like, the problem was they couldn't execute on anything. There was either a penalty or something dumb would just happen. A bad pass or, a drop. There were still some drops and stuff. There were some, especially in the first quarter, there were some plays it's like, all right, you know what I mean? But then they got it going. They were able to turn it around, went into that locker room second half, came out with, a new mentality and went out there and just started putting up points, shut down defense, and were able to end up picking up the win. I mean, it was just clutch all around in the second half for the Dolphins. I remember I really thought things were going to go down the hill. Cutler, he threw that interception in the beginning of the second half. I was like, all right, that's it, the game's over. Then they ended up calling it back on a flag, and then the Finns were able to put in a touchdown, which changes everything. And then that was just from that point on, things changed. All of a sudden, the defense got going. There was a big sack by Cameron Wake, and then it ended up leading to a botched punt or something by the Falcons. I couldn't tell if it was a fake or what. They were saying it was a fake, and maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Looked like it was just a botched punt. But and then the Dolphins got the ball back, went down the field, got a nice long field goal, 49 yards by Cody Parkey. And they're right there. They keep climbing back into it. Defense stops. Get the ball back again. And Jay Ajayi, he was great in this game. He had, 130 yards and 26 carries, averaged 5 yards a carry. He was great in this game. This was by far his best game of the year. This was the Jay Ajayi who we saw last year. We haven't really seen much of him. He was okay week 1. He put up like 100 yards week 1. But ever since that, it's just been like nothing. There was nothing to talk about with the offense until today. And then Jay Cutler, let's see what he did here. 33 attempts, 19 completions, 151 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had, I think, 1 interception. So, I mean, pretty solid day for Jay Cutler. I feel like it was his best game by far this year. I mean, nothing comes close to, based on how he's played this year. And, I mean, I really thought, like, I was just like, please put in Matt Moore at halftime. That's what I was saying. Please put in Matt Moore. I cannot stand Cutler. And then all of a sudden, Cutler comes out and just completely different person. Everything changed in that second half. It was just weird for them. It was like a whole different team came out of that locker room onto the field. I mean, there was like that team we saw in the first half and the second half were 2 completely different teams. They somehow changed up everything on both sides as well. Everything. It was just a great half. And I just really hope this isn't like a one-time thing and we're gonna go back to the usual ways that we've seen the past like 3-4 weeks. Next week again, it's against the Jets. So, I mean, I hope this is the sign of a turnaround. Finally, a sign of the offense showing up. The defense, I have been praising the defense for weeks now, guys. I mean, if you've heard my last reviews of the past games, I have been praising the defense, even in losing efforts. Last week, the defense, we would not have won that game last week if it wasn't for our defense. The defense came up clutch. The defense scored, I think, there was a fumble or something. I think it was. Rashad Jones picked it up and took it like into the end zone, touchdown. Here was, big plays all over the field last week. Titans, obviously, offense last week wasn't good. I mean, they didn't have Mariota. That game last week was hard to watch. Even though we won that game last week, that was one of those hard. It was worse than I thought. The Saints game was pretty bad, but man, that game last week was just so boring. There was like no offense on both sides of the ball. And that just carried over into the first half of this game. But then all of a sudden, the second half, it's like I felt like I was watching the Dolphins of last year again. This like exciting team that was able to rally and put up points and knock off a good team. I mean, I think this win is bigger than almost any win we had last year, to be honest. Because just like the Falcons. I mean, I honestly thought the Falcons were gonna just destroy us in this game. I mean, they started off slow. They lost to the Bills. They were 3-0 actually, as a matter of fact, I think. And then they lost to the Bills, went 3-1. Went on the bye. They had injuries. Julio Jones was hurt. Vic Beasley was hurt. A few other guys I think were out. They went on the bye, and I'm like, oh man, we had to go on the road up to Atlanta, coming off the bye. They're gonna just destroy us. But no, we go out there and somehow pull off the upset. Come out with a W. 3-2. Patriots beat the Jets. I heard the Jets got screwed. I don't know. I don't know really what happened in that game. I heard the Jets got like screwed or something. They should have maybe won or something or a touchdown. So I mean, once again though, I don't know if it's the Patriots are actually off to a really slow start this year, or the Jets are actually playing decent football, because the Jets were in that game most of the game from what I kept seeing. And you know what I mean? And the Patriots never really took full control of it. The Jets were always there in that one. So, I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm saying next week I'm not expecting a complete blowout or anything. I'm expecting kind of a close game almost, but the Dolphins are, Dolphins need to win the game next week regardless. And it is a home game too, so I don't know. I just want to see a continuation of what we saw in the second half today into next week. That's basically what I want. I want to see Jay Cutler. I really think if we can get Jay Cutler to throw for over 200 yards next week, maybe Jay Ajayi gets another 100. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see maybe like 30 points if we can get there. And a nice game by the defense, you know what I mean? Keep it under like 15 points. That's all I'm looking for next week against the Jets. I mean, of course, a blowout, like I said, would be amazing. Talk about confidence. Talk about getting the wins together. I mean, I can't believe we're 3-2. I really cannot believe we're 3-2. We are lucky to be 3-2. We could be easily getting like maybe our second or first win right now. It's crazy to think we beat the Titans and the Falcons and the Chargers, but we couldn't beat the Saints and we couldn't beat the Jets. Interesting stuff. But I don't know. I'm happy we won. I feel more we won last week and I just didn't feel good about it. I was honestly, it was one of those weird games where you win and you just didn't feel like a win though. It felt like a loss last week even though we won because the offense did nothing. This week though, seeing something out of the offense makes me feel much better about it. It's still surreal almost that we actually won this game. Like I can't believe it. I had to keep like looking at the score to see like it really is real though. We won. So hopefully this carries on. Hopefully this is the sign of a turnaround with the Dolphins, and this is the team we can get for the rest of the year, a winning team. Schedule, like I said, if we're able to beat the Falcons on the road, we should be able to beat the Jets at home next week. Our schedule from there, obviously we get Baltimore. We have 3 straight primetime games after that. Baltimore on Thursday night on the road, home against Oakland on Sunday night, and then on the road on Monday night against Carolina. I mean, those are all going to be tough games. Baltimore has been kind of playing bad. They actually lost to the Bears today, I think, in overtime. Baltimore looked like a real threat. I was worried about them after 2 games into the year. But the last, 3 weeks, what I saw out of them, they've looked like garbage. So, I mean, I feel like if we could play the way we did today against them on that game, we should be able to win maybe our next 2 games. Obviously, the home game against Oakland will be very interesting. Oakland's obviously getting Derek Carr back this week. Do not know. It's 10-7 right now as if I'm recording this video. Oakland winning at halftime. So, Chargers I don't know. I mean, the Chargers have been decent all year. I don't know. They've been in every game, but they've only got 1 win to show. But I don't know. Hopefully we're able to get that win. And then Carolina, I think, might be the toughest out of them all. Carolina, they're on the road too on a night game. That will be tough. Three straight night games in a row. The schedule's only going to get harder for the Dolphins. I mean, this was one of the hardest games on the schedule. If you look at it from the beginning of the year, they were able to pull this one out, get the win. Like I said, they're going to need to play the way they did in the second half today if they're going to want to succeed and maybe make a run for the playoffs. Because, like I said, somehow the way that things have turned out over the past 6 weeks into the season, they find themselves 3-2 right there. They still have a shot at the division, believe it or not. I mean, they're only 1 game out behind the Patriots. The Jets are 3-3. The Bills, I think, are on the bye this week. They're 3-2. So it's every team in the AFC East is in it for the division. There's no the Patriots aren't running away with it like they usually are. The Patriots continuously, like we saw today against the Jets, they're off to a real slow start this year. Maybe this is the new Patriots. Hopefully it is. Hopefully they don't get in that turnaround mode where they just start winning games and blowing out, and they're top team in the league. So hopefully that stays the way it is. It kind of sucks though that we didn't win those games earlier in the year against teams like the Saints and the Jets, because we could be one of the best teams in the league, but unfortunately we couldn't find any offense in all those games. But that's basically it though, guys, for this review of the game. Like I said, weird games. It's really weird. It was 2 completely different halves. It just didn't feel. It felt weird watching the first. I didn't even watch most of the second half. I was just so pissed. I didn't even tune in back until the 4th quarter or something. The 3rd quarter, I was just watching a little bit on my phone and stuff. I couldn't get over what happened, but I was like, hey, you know what? The Dolphins are coming back here. Let me put the TV on. And then they were able to somehow come back, win the game. Clutch performance by both offense and defense. So yeah, that's basically it though, guys. Let me know what you guys thought of the game down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow here on the Glorious Podcast.